Hello and welcome to another phpchess recording. This is due to fan requests. We had a lot of requests in regards to explaining the somewhat clunky activity system that is inside phpchess. So this is a quick tutorial to let you know how to set it up and how to make it work. The first step to do from the logon to the administration page is to go to server management, and in the server management side, when you scroll down a little bit, you have a little icon called activity settings. This is the first critical part. Basically, the idea of activities is to decide whether or not these are chargeable, whether or not they're free. Here's the default credit required for a activity. I personally like to set this always to 0. Whether or not the activity is free or not is entirely up to you in that respect. So you can set this to up whichever way you fancy. I quite like free activities, but permit the use of credits in general. If we then go back to the setup part, there's also a requirement to set up some of the billing. So there is the icon around how credit requests are dealt with, and in here you can set up how players set up credit and how billing is managed in general. Principally, I think this is a very simple system. For me, everything in general should be free, but you can accept, for example, PayPal payments for specifically advanced lessons if you so wish. It's never been productively tested. I don't think anybody actually ever wanted it, but it is there in case you would like to use it that way. Just send us a mail on phpchess.com, and we will pick it up and help you work through it if you want to make it chargeable. When it then comes to the activities themselves, you've got a link here on the left saying you can simply create activities. It's a very straightforward process. So if you are, for example, wanting to create a new activity around openings, then you can enter a description that people can read to understand what this is about. This is an introduction to basic openings. And if I could spell, that would be a lot better as well. Openings. And you can always give an author to make sure that the lessons stay yours. And whether or not this causes any credits to run, and you can decide whether or not this is a lesson or a puzzle. Now this is more of a categorization rather than any change in the behavior of the server when it comes to actually creating the activity itself. The activities themselves are created from left to right, really. So in the beginning we add resources. So these are in essence your knowledge management input. So this is anything from games to texts to pictures to whatever else you want to upload to the server to say I want that available when I create my page. You then create as many pages as you like, because basically these activities are flows. So you go through page to page to in essence complete your activity. You then have a chance to preview this, and within the preview you have the ability to move pages forward and backwards or delete them if you didn't like them. And then you can enable the activity and it turns up in the members area. So let's start by the adding of resources. It's a very straightforward pop-up window. You can say I want to upload a picture. You can choose your file from your environment. And then from there, I would like to make sure that it's also registered as an image. I can give it specific width and height, and I can add the resource. And that is a very straightforward way to go. I can now create a page with this resource. Again, it's a standard pop-up window. I have a very straightforward way of selecting the resource. I can add my text. I can cut out texts if I want, and say, well, there's only really 2 objectives. and all the typical stuff. I might want to underline parts, choose a different font, color the text differently, whichever way I want to do it. And I can select what type of page this is, whether or not there are answers required, true or false, or there's a long answer possibility. But fundamentally, these are information pages that we're adding at the moment. So let's just add the page as an information page, and then we can move and have a look in the preview what this page actually now looks like when it's being displayed to the users. And here you can also see that move page to the left or move page to the right, deleting the page, moving to the next page or to the previous pages. They're all options here. So we might now want to actually add a resource that is actually a game. So I have a nice game here. It's in PGN format, and I simply would like to add the resource into the online library. So getting this up, this is a game example. I could choose files here, but actually what I want to show is here that I can enter directly the PGN here. Once I select PGN or FEN for the type, I actually get the possibilities to just enter a FEN string here or the PGN string here. Now I know the input field looks very short, but trust me, if you copy the whole game in and you add the resource, it actually enters the whole game. So to again create a page, let's have a look. How we now enter. Fairly straightforward. You again select your resource. You add any text. I mean, in this case, I'm going to put the game again underneath it because it's still in my memory. I can even ask a question here. For example, I could take the game out and saying, "Was this a good game?" The user can then choose between true and false, and we can say the answer is indeed false. It's not a very good game of chess. So we add that resource, and in the preview we now can see that phpchess uses the tiny PGN player to actually add this. So we now have two pages. It's page 1 out of 2, and if I move on to the next page, I can see here that the game board has turned up, the moves have turned up, and when I press play, the game actually unfolds. I can jump forward in the game, and I have all the controls that a user might like to see in order to see how the game is developing. Most importantly, it's also then possible here to say, here's your question and answer. Now, for the user, of course, this will not appear, this answer falls underneath it. This is just making sure that we as an administrator for this activity have a clear view of what's actually going on. Having now created the activity, and I might add as many more pages as I feel like to it, I can now go in and say, well, I'm happy with this. I can enable the activity and return back to my create activity overview, where I can see that we have openings, introduction to basic openings here, under the lessons activity, and then it is enabled together with one other activity. We can now switch over to the view for the members, and what I want to highlight is that every member sees here the icons for create game, my settings, and also activities at the top. So when we're entering the activity, we get the classical overview of the activities page. And we can see here that in the lessons there is an activity left to buy. We've enabled here the credit system. I still have 10,000 credits available, and so I can look at the lesson and I can decide, yep, I would like to get that lesson. This is where it's unfortunately a little bit clunky. You have to then go back in here and actually look at your lesson this way. You can see that it's not completed. It's an openings, introduction to basic openings. And if I now go into view activity, it's actually seamlessly included in the PHP chess server. I can see my texts appearing here, the images. I get the next button to go to the next page. I can see here the chess activity page. I can play through the game, and I can decide here now without the answer whether or not this is true or false. I go with false, and the page refreshes and highlights that you've answered this question correctly. I hope that gives a very quick overview over how the activity system works, and that in principle, while clunky, does indeed work quite effectively. Of course, the activity system as a whole is a lot smoother when the actual credit system is not enabled. Then this icon is lost, and all activities are free, and you can just simply go and get your puzzles and your activities. For feedback, just contact us at phpchess.com. Thank you.